Hello, you glorious gamers. I'm ChadOfStats, and today we are diving into 20 3DS games that got the sequel or port they deserved. Now, who decided these games deserve that? Well, it is just my opinion, and I rather like my opinion. These are a list of games that either got a sequel or a port off of the 3DS. While it is a shame that there are no more new games for the 3DS, the ones listed here are games I found notable. They also managed to continue on after the 3DS, as either remasters, remakes, sequels, or spiritual successors. This list is in random order, by the way. Now what are we waiting for? Let's start this list and dive right in. Fantasy Life. A cozy game where the name describes what you get. Your literal fantasy life. Or should I say, fantasy lives, as there are so many options to choose from, giving you 12 life paths, basically job classes, and allowing you to freely swap between them. Created by Level 5, a rather notable studio, this developer has many excellent games behind them. Fantasy Life got the great honor of receiving a sequel. And I don't mean the mobile game, Fantasy Life Online. Or should I say, it will receive that honor, as while the sequel, Fantasy Life I, The Girl Who Steals Time, was supposed to release in 2023 for the Nintendo Switch. It was unfortunately delayed to 2024, and not just 2024, but to Q3 of 2024. So, a bit of a wait. The sequel seems to have you build up an island by traveling far into the past. However, when it comes to time traveling games, I am always a bit hesitant. It is just a hard topic to do justice. Let's hope the sequel does it well. Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. Who doesn't want to play as a Pokemon now and then? Not just the trainer? Well, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon lets you do just that. This is a series that has spanned from the Game Boy Advance to the Nintendo DS, the Wii, the 3DS, and now more recently, the Switch as a remake. I say recent, but this remake came out in 2020. I guess recency loses meaning remarkably fast, huh? With two entries on the 3DS, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Gates to Infinity, and Pokemon Super Mystery Dungeon. This series was ripe for more. And I will be honest, I have always held great affection for the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games, which is why I was so excited when Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX was released for the Switch, as it was a remake of one of my favorite games of the series, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Red and Blue Rescue Team, featuring a fantastic new art style. Now I am just eager for a new entry in this series, or a remake of Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Sky. It's been almost 4 years, guys. Please. I just want to interject here and say I am aware of the Shiren the Wanderer Mystery Dungeon games, which are developed by the same company usually. I just didn't include it because I am rather sure there is no 3DS entry for the series. But I will say that they are releasing a new entry for the Shiren the Wanderer series on the 24th of January for the Switch. It is called, deep breath here, Shiren the Wanderer, the Mystery Dungeon of Serpent Coil Island. Monster Hunter Stories. I am very fond of this series. I consider myself a fan of Monster Hunter. Add in recruiting monsters to fight alongside you, and a turn-based battle system. I can only get so hyped. My only real problem with the first entry was some quality of life issues and the deformed art style. I had fun anyway. I am quite a fan of being able to fight with the monsters. Not to worry Monster Hunter fans, however. You can still make armor from your fallen foes. No mixed sets though. This game was also ported to mobile devices. Figured I should mention all the ports, even the mobile ones. A sequel, Monster Hunter Stories 2, Wings of Ruin, was released for the Nintendo Switch and PC. In this case, a sequel was much deserved, featuring less deformed models and more weapons to use. It saw some decent post-launch support and thus has some nice content for the endgame as well. So be prepared for a lot of monsters. Sadly, some of my favorite monsters, such as Gormagala and Velstrax, are not present, but there are so many more to make up for it. Story-wise, I found it good, but it does have many returning characters from the first game, not requiring you to play the first game, but if you don't, you will have some confused moments. There's actually a lot of callbacks to characters from the original game now that I think about it. One Piece Romance Dawn. Now, while I haven't caught up on the current chapters or episodes of One Piece, I have developed a love for the series. So when I first heard of One Piece Romance Dawn for the 3DS, I was ecstatic. As I am sure you're bored to death of hearing already, I love turn-based games. I wish there was more turn-based games based on popular anime. Give me a Bleach or Naruto turn-based game also, and I will be a happy clam. However, this game turned out to be rather okay. Or if you're feeling less generous, not okay. It has some issues, but I like the idea of it, making the announcement of One Piece Odyssey all the better. Turn-based One Piece was not dead yet. This game released on the PlayStation, Xbox, and PC, garnering a more favorable reaction than Romance Dawn. Improvement. Now it is not technically a sequel or remake of Romance Dawn, but I like to consider it a spiritual successor due to the fact that they both use turn-based combat. As for myself, I need to catch up a bit in the anime before playing it, but I am excited to do so. The main detractor I am hearing about is the rather easy difficulty. Shin Megami Tensei. There are 3 Shin Megami Tensei games on the 3DS. Shin Megami Tensei 4, 4 Apocalypse, and Strange Journey Redux. One of these is not like the others, but they are all notable, packaged with difficult turn-based combat and demons. Few will argue that the series did not deserve a sequel, and we got a sequel in Shin Megami Tensei 5, the next main number entry released on the Switch. I love its gameplay. It is challenging but satisfying, a post-apocalypse story where the fate of the world is decided. And as a fan of long flowing hair, how could I dislike the main character's design? Although the ice skates on their feet are a bit weird, I must say. Now I just want a port of the game to be released off the Switch. Bravely Default. An amazing series that started on the 3DS. Bravely Default and Bravely Second really are exceptional. They are also the first turn-based games to kick my ass in a long time. I was not expecting it when I first picked up Bravely Default. This series is all about using the job class system to try break the game, and then get wrecked regardless by the next boss. With heavily meta storylines, you will question your existence. So when Bravely Default 2 released for the Nintendo Switch and later PC, I jumped on it. Weirdly enough, the 3rd game in the series is labeled 2. I expected nothing less. Unfortunately, I have my gripes with this game, more so than the previous titles. The last half of the game feels a bit rushed story-wise, but this game still has lovely music and gameplay. And, of course, job classes. Got to love it. The Alliance Alive. A rather unusual game. It seems to be a bit divisive. Review scores vary a lot. It is unusual in its combat mechanics. It is turn-based, but characters are on a small grid. It also does not have the standard level up system. You may randomly gain HP and SP after a battle, while character skills need to be used to make them more powerful. Now, if you don't think that sounds fun, may I present the Robot Duck. Your argument is invalid. The Alliance Alive was the lucky duck. To get a remaster, titled The Alliance Alive HD Remastered, for the PlayStation 4, Nintendo Switch, and PC, as well as iOS and Android. It is mostly just a graphical remaster, so it looks prettier, and I do quite like the art style. Cleaner looking is always a bonus. Pokemon. Well, where to begin? The mainline Pokemon games. Everyone has to have heard of them, but let's get the large amount of them out the way. There is on the 3DS, Pokemon X and Y, Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, Sun and Moon, as well as Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. All fun games. I had my problems with some of them, but overall had a good time, more than the Switch games. Which brings us to the sequels that bounced off the 3DS to land on the Switch. Now, these ones I have a bit more of an issue with. I mean, it's still Pokemon, and fun, but come on, there have been some glaring issues. There have been on the Switch, Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, Sword and Shield, Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, Legends Arceus, and lastly, Scarlet and Violet. I am not sure if Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, as well as Legends Arceus, count as mainline games, but I am not making separate entries for them. My favorite of the bunch is probably Pokemon Legends Arceus. It changed up the mechanics and actually brought me back to my childhood fantasies, running around, sneaking up on Pokemon and throwing Pokeballs at them. It really was a special moment to me when I first tried it. I appreciate that. Monster Hunter. I remember getting into Monster Hunter. I got wrecked so hard and so often, but it was so much fun, opening up a new world to me. There were 3 Monster Hunter games that got a Western release on the 3DS. Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate, Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate, and Monster Hunter Generations. Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate was released for the 3DS in Japan. It was then ported to the Switch and released to a Western audience, which starts us with support to begin the jump off the 3DS. Next released was Monster Hunter World in 2018, a change-up for the series. It came to PlayStation, Xbox, and PC, followed years later by Monster Hunter Rise, which released on essentially everything eventually. Switch, PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. There is also Monster Hunter Now, an iOS and Android-based game similar to Pokemon Go, sort of, but Monster Hunter flavored. Lastly, there was the newly announced Monster Hunter Wilds, the next big entry in the series, slated for 2025 on PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X and S. Such a wait, it's sad. However, I can't wait to see where the series goes. If you have not tried the series before, I highly recommend it. Etrian Odyssey. The Monster Hunter entry had a bit too many titles, and the Etrian Odyssey series is no better. A first-person dungeon crawler where you partake in turn-based battles, known for its map drawing features using the 3DS's touchscreen. Yep, you map the floors as you explore to help you in later expeditions. It's a very cool mechanic. On the 3DS, there is Etrian Odyssey 4, Etrian Odyssey 5, and Etrian Odyssey Nexus. They also remade the first 2 games of the series for the 3DS, Etrian Odyssey Untold, The Millennium Girl, and Etrian Odyssey 2 Untold, The Fafnir Knight. The series continued off the 3DS as the Etrian Odyssey Origins collection, released for the Switch and PC. It's a remastered collection of the first 3 games, featuring some changes, like quality of life improvements, more save slots, and character portraits. Not sure how the mapping mechanics translated over to PC, but other than using a controller, there is apparently an auto mapping function. Fire Emblem. The tactical turn-based game that makes you fear for your unit's lives, as permadeath is a thing here. However, now it is a choice you pick in options, known as Classic Mode. What I always found strange was that leveling up in this series is rather RNG based, as when a character levels up, points are randomly distributed across your stats. So gaining levels can buff your character greatly, or sometimes do almost nothing. There are 3 Fire Emblem games on the 3DS. The first of which, Fire Emblem Awakening, is credited with revitalizing the series, starting its upward trend into popularity, after which Fire Emblem Fates released, followed by Fire Emblem Echoes, which is a remake of a previous game. Exploding onto the Switch with much acclaim was Fire Emblem Three Houses, changing up some of the gameplay you expected, as you are a professor, leading your class in battle. Fire Emblem Engage released after, and I will say it is definitely prettier than Three Houses. The game looks so much more colorful. Both are excellent games with different strengths, so pick which appeals to you. Theaterism, Final Fantasy. For a massive change of pace, here is a rhythm game where you control a party of 4 characters from the Final Fantasy series and play to its soundtrack, using the touchscreen to play to the music. Theaterism Final Fantasy released and was followed by its sequel, Theaterism Final Fantasy Curtain Call. There is also a 3rd entry in the series called Theaterism Dragon Quest, but that was only released in Japan. I was honestly surprised when Theaterism Final Bar Line was announced for the Nintendo Switch and PlayStation. The rhythm game that incorporated RPG elements lived on, and even expanded to using the soundtracks from other Square Enix franchises, such as Octopath Traveler or Neo. Xenoblade Chronicles. I am actually very impressed that this game runs on the 3DS, even if it is the new 3DS. The series is an ARPG that uses auto attacks while you position your character, where you can select arts to manually attack. There was only one Xenoblade Chronicles game on the 3DS, and it is a port of the Wii release. Leaping off the 3DS, the series continued on the Nintendo Switch, with this release order: Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, which is the remake, and lastly, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, which ended the Chronicles series. Devil Summoner, Soul Hackers. More Shin Megami Tensei games, this time with a spin-off, where you navigate dungeons in first person. This series has you entering the souls of people who recently died. If that doesn't sound completely metal, I don't know what is. But that is not the end of the series. Soul Hackers 2 released for the PlayStation, Xbox, and PC to middling reception. Yeah, after all the other games that had released under the Shin Megami umbrella just before this one, people were a bit let down to say the least. Personally, I just really like the main protagonist's light-up jacket. That is actually all I have to say about it. I haven't actually tried this entry yet. Atlus games are notable, even this one, and it is good to see the series continue. Rune Factory. A fantasy RPG series with farming and dungeon crawling. Funnily enough, most of the games in the series have you lose your memory. Not sure what prompted that as a trend. It is actually quite a cozy game, with a crafting system that still confuses me to this day. Maybe I should just delve deeper into it. The 3DS has one entry on it, that being Rune Factory 4, a lovely game that was well received. Flying off from the 3DS, we got sequels, ports, and remasters to discuss. Rune Factory 4 got a remaster titled Rune Factory 4 Special that leapt onto the Nintendo Switch, PlayStation, Xbox, and PC systems. This release was followed by Rune Factory 5, an entry that moved into a more 3D open environment with a controllable camera. Unfortunately, it reviewed rather poorly compared to the other entries. Rune Factory 5 released on the Switch and PC. Fortunately, as if trying to make up for that release, Rune Factory 3 was remastered and released on a Nintendo Switch and PC, with the title of Rune Factory 3 Special. This version has you routinely turn into a sheep monster, which is a choice. Dragon Quest. The mainline Dragon Quest series. Classic turn-based comfort food. It knows what it is and does it well. Also, occasionally having job classes as part of their mechanics, which I appreciate. Speaking of job classes, there are 2 Dragon Quest games on the 3DS, and one of them has job classes, which is the remake of Dragon Quest VII. It went from pixel art to 3D models. There is also the much acclaimed remake of Dragon Quest VIII. However, that one does not have job classes, but does still offer some variety in how you build your characters. Technically, there is Dragon Quest X and 11 for the 3DS, but those were Japan exclusive. Dragon Quest X is also an MMO. Hopping off the 3DS, we have the glorious Dragon Quest XI, which had a completely different version for the 3DS, funnily enough. But Dragon Quest XI also came to Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo Switch, PC, and strangely enough Stadia. Being an amazing game, I must recommend it to everyone. And considering it seems to be on almost everything, it is begging to be played. Now we just need Dragon Quest XII. 11 came out in 2017. It has been a while. Announced but not released yet is also the HD 2D remake of Dragon Quest III. I need these games. I can gush endlessly about my hype for them. Digimon World. The Tamagotchi Digimon experience brought to consoles. Digimon World is actually a video game Digimon series, where you progress through the story, constantly taking care of your Digimon while it repeats the cycle of hatching, aging, and dying. Yes, your Digimon is constantly being reincarnated. You have to train it, feed it, and take it to the bathroom, all the while making sure it is strong enough to take on the story missions. If it's not, or too young, you better get training. Unfortunately, the only Digimon World game on the 3DS is Digimon World Redigitized Decode, which is a remake of a PSP game. I say unfortunately because this game was a Japan exclusive. There is, however, a fan-made English patch for it. It made this list because it is still a series that was on the 3DS that continued off it. The game that did this was Digimon World Next Order, this time giving you 2 Digimon at once. Originally a PlayStation Vita game, it was ported to the PlayStation 4 and many years later, the Nintendo Switch and PC. The Switch and PC port curiously gave your character the ability to run. Bold, I know. Paper Mario. The much beloved series that is finally seeing a resurgence. It is all the Mario goodness in paper form, with turn-based combat. Yes, turn-based is eternal. even Mario is not immune. The 3DS received 2 entries in the series, Paper Mario Sticker Star and the spin-off of the spin-off series, Mario and Luigi Paper Jam. Sliding off the 3DS console, the series continued on the Wii U as Paper Mario Color Splash, and then on the Nintendo Switch as Paper Mario The Origami King. The Origami King, however, was criticized a bit for dropping some of the RPG elements the series was known for. But not to worry, the cream of the Paper Mario crop, the 1000-Year Door, is getting remade for the Nintendo Switch. With a release date of this year, people were understandably ecstatic, as it seems that this is people's favorite entry into the series. And I will admit, I never played the original, so I am curious about this remake. Miitopia. A very cozy but rather strange entry in this list. Miitopia is what you get when you throw the concept of the Mii avatars into a blender with the RPG genre. A strange game on the 3DS that is quite funny, or well, it can be, as you assign Miis to every character in the game, including the antagonist. This is a turn-based game that uses your character's assigned personality and relationship levels to get rather strange. It is a game that is elevated from average to hilarious, based on the creativity of the person playing it. Miitopia was eventually ported to the Switch, and people were given an updated creation system, as well as the ability to upload their creations online and make them available for download. Things quickly got weird, while Luigi ran rampant. I myself made the Dark Lord of the game Nigel Thornberry, and the Great Sage I made into Shaggy. Truly, the mind is a cursed place. Dragon Quest Monsters. More cozy Dragon Quest, this time with a spin-off series, where you catch and train the monsters. Yes, Pokemon comparisons inbound, but this series is really good. Most people were not aware that this game was on the 3DS, and I cannot blame them, as the 3 games that were released for the system were Japan exclusive. These games were Terry's Wonderland 3D, Iryu and Luca's Marvelous Mysterious Key, and Dragon Quest Monster Joker 3. People in the West were left wanting for a port or entry for a long time, which should give you an idea of what happened. Based on the whole purpose of this video, yes, we got a sequel to the series, Dragon Quest Monsters The Dark Prince. All it took was over a decade of patient waiting. Currently, it is released for the Switch only, but I'm hoping for a port to the PC. This time, you play as the main antagonist of Dragon Quest IV, which is quite the fun concept. Which wraps this up. A list of 3DS games that managed to jump ship in some way, shape or form, in order to continue their existence. I like it. Interesting games or series continuing and becoming more accessible. If you're still here and found this video helpful, entertaining, or just good to watch, please consider liking and subscribing. It would really help me out. Thank you for watching.